Katsamba, and together with Professor Waldemar Pfoertsch from the University of Limassol, Cyprus, I would like to present social embedded human-centered AI, the human filter as ethical infrastructure to AI-mediated decisions under pressure, hierarchy, and institutional constraint. So, our agenda, quickly, here is what we'll cover today. First, the problem. How human-centered design describes what a system should make possible, not whether it's actually used. Second, the framework. 5 conditions of social embeddedness. Third, evidence and the model. How functions map against those conditions illustrated across domains. And fourth, the implications, design levers, testable propositions, and where this research goes next. So what is the problem? The problem is human-centered AI describes what a system should make possible, override buttons, explainability, confidence scores, but it says little about whether the surrounding social system actually lets that override be used. Let's say a physician reviewing an AI diagnosis operates inside a hospital hierarchy and at a time constraint shift. A judge reviewing a risk score answers to caseload pressure and appellate scrutiny. The override option isn't unused because people don't know it exists. It's unused because using it costs something the interface cannot see. So the 4 different streams that we are going to research, each explain a piece of the puzzle, and but none connects them. Like some say build and good interface, but don't say what happens after. Others show good tools, fail once they enter a real organization, and others study ethical leadership and trust, and others study why governance rules stay on paper and never get used. So the human filter, socially embedded, we extend the human filter, the capacity to interpret questions and evaluate AI outputs before they become action into social embedded construct, drawing on our 4 literatures. As I said, the first is human-centered AI, interface level guidance, the social technical systems, why fixes fail once deployed, and the ethical leadership and trust, and institutional theory, legitimacy versus function of governance. Here we are going to see the 5 conditions of social embeddedness. And we have the human filter operates under these 5 recurring conditions. Pressure, time and caseload that compress the window for reflection. Pressure means I don't have time to check. Second, we have the bias, that is algorithmic and human bias that reinforces each other. And that means the AI is telling me what I already believed. And third, the professional hierarchy, seniority that determines who may question an output and at what cost. Like in hierarchy, we hear often, my boss already approved it. So this is what we expect. The fourth is the institutional rules. And policy either legitimizes questioning AI or discourage it. That means if I disagree, I'll get blamed. And fourth, conflicting expectations. Multiple audiences rarely want the same thing from a decision. One side wants speed, the other side wants quality. And the competitions compound and not sum. Pressures narrows the time to notice bias. Bias, once noticed, is harder to raise inside a steer hierarchy. And erasing is harder still when institutional rules treat dissent as a document burden. And the resulting silence is easier to rationalize when conflicting expectations already justify accepting the AI-endorsed path. The weakest condition sets the ceiling on what the other can achieve. So we see here the three factions, and now in social, the ethical sensitivity, the three human filter factions take on a social character. The ethical sensitivity degrades first under pressure. Noticing what's omitted takes time a compressed window doesn't provide. The value alignment requires legitimate standing under conflicting expectations. It's not just noticing value, it's adjudicating between audiences. And reflecting elevation is hardest to voice under hierarchy. Disagreeing with a senior endorsed output carries real career cost. How we see these functions and conditions. This gives us a diagnostic framework, mapping each function against its highest risk condition, and the lever that counteracts it. Ethical sensitivity is the most threatened by pressure and bias. The protected by reflection time. The value alignment is threatened by conflicting expectation and institutional rules and supported by explicit guidance. Reflective elevation is threatened by hierarchy and bias and supported by evidence-based escalation and calibrating for confidence displayed. How we see this in a model. Putting it all together as a model, the 5 conditions, shape whether the human filters, 3 functions, are exercised. That exercise what we propose to measure through empirical indicators and sustain exercise supported by design and governance. is what makes AI-mediated decision trustworthy in practice, not just by design. And this is what exactly we are going to research. The gap looks different in every domain. The gap that we have in healthcare, AI trained on many radiologists creates a distributed hierarchy. It's harder to contest than a single colleague. In law, judges balance appellate consistency, individualize justice on their own judgment, with no institutional guidance on weighting them. In business, few checkpoints exist between a recommendation and execution. The window for ethical sensitivity can close entirely, not just narrow. And in education, fewer than a third of top universities have any formal generative AI policy. The gap there is an institutional and not an individual. So no single fix works for everywhere. And comparing across the domains confirms there is no single fix. Healthcare needs protected interrogation time. Law needs legible adjudication rules. Business needs the checkpoints other domains already have. And education needs the institutional rule to embed a checkpoint into the first place. So we have the key point here that if someone doesn't question AI, it doesn't mean they are a bad professional. It means the organization doesn't give them room to do it. The fix isn't finding better people. It's building a better system. And the design implication so what can systems and organizations actually do? Introduce friction by design at points where reflective elevation matters most. Use calibrated confidence displays to counter algorithm appreciation. Build escalation as a first-class visible function, not an exception path. And make governance artifacts legible, designed to protect the dissenting professional, not just demonstrate compliance. And here we have 5 falsifiable propositions. We state the argument as these 5 propositions. Embeddedness moderates design quality. Each function is differentially vulnerable to different conditions. Conditions compound rather than sum. Functioning governments beats formal governance, and studying outweigh competence, perceived safety of dissent predicts escalation better than AI literacy alone. And here, we have the contribution. This is why we say the human filter isn't just a trait, it is an organizational capability. and it makes 5 contributions to human-centered AI by adding the social conditions that determine enactment, to social technical systems research by operationalizing the abstraction trap critique, to business ethics by reframing responsible AI, a social situated influence, to management research by identifying structural and actionable levers, and to marketing and service research by extending human-to-human marketing into AI-mediated transformation. And our key takeaway: an override button alone proves nothing. The tool can allow questioning. That doesn't mean the environment around the person allows it to. No single existing idea explaining. Trust, AI literacy, formal oversight, each explained one piece. None explained the whole thing. The 5 pressures multiply, not add. Pressure plus strict hierarchy together is far worse than either one alone. Trusting AI is not the same as daring to disagree. You can trust it completely and still not have the standing to act on our own judgment. No single fix works everywhere. Healthcare, law, business, and education each need a different intervention. It's not about finding better people. It's about building a better system, one that makes disagreement and not risky. And our conclusion, to conclude, a visible override button that no one feels safe pressing is not evidence that human oversight has been achieved. The future of trustworthy AI will be decided by whether the social system around it makes it possible, safe, and rewarded for a human being to act on what they hear. Thank you very much for your attention.